Hello, everyone. My name is Tarini Saka, and I am presenting our paper titled Judging Phishing Under Uncertainty, How Do Users Handle Inaccurate Automated Advice? Before I start, I would like to acknowledge and thank my co-authors, Calliope Bakali, Adam Jenkins, Nadine Kokchian, and Cami Vignay. Phishing is a type of cyber attack in which attackers contact users through spoofed emails, pretending to be from a legitimate organization to try to trick users into performing certain actions. On the screen is an example of a phishing email from PayPal. Now, in recent years, phishing has become increasingly sophisticated. Attackers often use a range of obfuscation techniques to bypass email filters. For example, in this PayPal email, you can see that the sender domain is of the legitimate PayPal domain, and so is the URL. The main trick in this email is that when users click on the link, it goes to a dead page, and users naturally would call the phone number on the screen, which is encoded using non-ASCII characters. Now, imagine you wake up one day and you're checking your emails, as most of us do, and spot something suspicious. Now, the usual practice is to report it to the IT support staff who are supposed to analyze the email and respond to you with advice. But in such situations, the users, while they wait for a response, are often left vulnerable. Sometimes they receive no response at all. Research shows that some users in such situations click the links or download the document out of curiosity or urgency, which poses a huge security risk. This highlights the importance of educating users and equipping them with the knowledge to make safe decisions. This is where user training comes into play. Broadly speaking, phishing training falls into two categories. Before an attack, including security awareness programs, phishing simulation exercises, game-based training, and so on. These are conducted at the start of an employment or during irregular periods. However, these rely on users being able to remember all the information shared with them and applying it at the moment of risk, which isn't always feasible. That is why in the moment guidance during an attack is becoming more popular. This includes email banner warnings, browser-based warnings, URL warnings, and more recently, AI-based email analysis. In AI-based systems, an email is read into an AI algorithm which analyzes the email and gives you with some kind of guidance, similar to what an IT staff would do. And in recent years, there's been a shift towards this because first, it can be used real time and can help users in the moment that they're vulnerable. And second, it can be used to create tailored guidance specific to the email rather than generic guidance. As more and more researchers and security workers move towards AI-assisted guidance, we want to assess its actual impact before investing time and resources. That is what led to our study, which explores three research questions. How does real-time guidance affect users? How does tailored email analysis impact users compared to generic guidance? And what is the impact of the accuracy of the analysis on users? Or in other words, what if the AI makes an error? To answer these research questions, we conducted a user study. Through an online survey on Prolific, we asked participants to classify emails into phishing or benign and asked them to rate their confidence. This was a between subject study with three conditions: generic, perfect, and realistic guidance. Each participant reviewed 10 emails in 2 rounds, the first round without any kind of guidance, and second with one of the three types. Performance was measured using accuracy and confidence. Now, let's recall the PayPal email we saw at the beginning. This was shown to participants in round 2 with different types of guidance. The first condition was the control condition, where participants received the same generic phishing advice for all emails. This was sourced from our university's phishing awareness website and provided general tips rather than email-specific analysis. The second condition was the perfect one. It simulated an AI system with flawless accuracy. Here, the guidance was tailored to each email and was always correct. For example, in the case of the PayPal email, the system accurately identified the suspicious element of non-ASCII characters and flagged it as phishing. The third condition was the realistic condition. It provided tailored guidance but included occasional inaccuracies, mimicking real-world AI systems. In some instances, participants received incorrect advice, such as for the PayPal email, they were marked it as safe because the sender domain and link destination matched the PayPal's official details. This condition aimed to reflect common email analysis practices and the imperfections of real-world AI systems, which can often be fooled by sophisticated obfuscation techniques. Now, if we take a closer look at our results, we can see very interesting trends. First of all, impact of guidance. Our key takeaway from this study is that the real-time guidance can greatly benefit users and should definitely be further explored. The results show that the perfect condition led to the highest improvement in both accuracy and confidence. This suggests that a reliable system providing real-time guidance at critical moments could significantly enhance security practices for both organizations and individuals. Additionally, correct advice boosts user confidence in the system, reinforcing better decision making. Our next key takeaway is that customizing the email guidance is important. This shows that generic guidance, where you say the same points over and over again, can negatively impact user confidence in the system. This is further evidenced by participant feedback, where many of them said things like reports seemed generic and didn't highlight any clues from the email. Looking back at the PayPal email, with generic guidance, around 67% of the participants correctly identified as phishing. But in the perfect condition with good advice, almost 82% of users correctly recognized as at phishing, which is a significant increase. This highlights that the precise and tailored guidance can be very, very useful in organizational settings. Well, when we look closely at the impact of errors, we found that inaccuracies can significantly impact the overall performance of users. The realistic condition showed the lowest mean change of accuracy of 0, but they did see improvements in user confidence. User feedback comments included points like, I didn't feel like I could trust the system, the judgments were inconsistent, and so on. While this is negatively impacts the users, it is encouraging to see that users could identify system errors independently. For the PayPal email specifically, the realistic condition performed much worse than the other two conditions, with only around 33% of the participants correctly identifying it as phishing. This table shows the percentage of participants in each condition who correctly identified emails as either phishing or benign in the second round. Overall, the realistic conditions mean accuracy was lower than the control in many emails where inaccuracies were there, as shown. But in many cases, the realistic condition did outperform the control condition. This demonstrates that even a few system errors, like one or two, can significantly reduce the overall performance. Accuracy percentages can drop considerably despite the system performing well in other cases. This is very important to consider before deploying such systems in your organization. The key takeaway here is that it is not about finding an ideal system, but rather balancing tailored and generic guidance. When the system is unsure, defaulting to generic guidance could do less harm than going with incorrect guidance. The key takeaways or the main conclusions from our study are real-time guidance should definitely be explored if it can be implemented correctly. Customizing email guidance is important for user confidence and continued system use. Errors or inaccuracies can significantly lower performance, and hence we need systems that are robust and reliable. This means that we should not rely solely on sender and URL information, and we should create an overall measure that takes into account many different parts of the email. Further, supporting evidence is important. Users need comprehensive information to exercise their judgment alongside the system's report. Overall, I think that there is a lot of potential and scope for AI-assisted guidance systems, but it must be thoroughly researched and tested before deployment. Thank you all so much for listening, and if you have any feedback, suggestions, or questions, please feel free to reach out to me at the email address on the screen. Thank you.